school at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, President Charles Steele, and none other than my soror, the Honorable Miss Kathleen Steele.
Thank you, Mrs. Butler. You know, I don't normally have a lot to say, so I'm not going to have a lot to say today. But I am going to say this. I taught school for 30-odd years.
Yes.
And I always told my students that the final exam is coming.
Yes.
Regardless of whether you have an A or B,
All right.
you can't forget about the final exam.
Yes.
And some of our kids would say, well, I have an A. And they go to sleep.
Yes.
And then at the end,
All right.
they didn't have an A.
Say it.
So I want you to know today that the final exam for us hit us hard.
Yes.
Because we forgot
Yes.
that what we had achieved is not always promised.
All right.
It was here for a little while. We thought we had it forever.
Yes.
Then when we didn't have it, we forgot to speak up.
All right.
And when we didn't speak up, the final exam was what's happening in all of these states to us today. Thank you very much. And here's the speaker, my husband.
All right now.
Wow.
Well.
Thank you so much, First Lady of SCLC.
Amen.
And I'm just happy that Miss Butler is my friend.
Amen.
She's always there when we need her. And she was so close to Dr. Lowry. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I've been here 14 years, trying to keep SCLC alive.
Yes.
Because people thought we have made it to the promised land.
All right.
In terms of freedom.
Yes.
I'm a little country boy from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, was elected for 18 years.
That's right.
I'm a former state senator and a city councilman. The first state senator from Tuscaloosa, Alabama since Reconstruction. But I gave up my Senate seat to come to Atlanta in 2004 because we didn't want to lose SCLC. We lost Nick. We lost Cora. John Lewis was a good friend of mine. Let me just say this in closing. Everybody said everything I wanted to say. You're talking about HR 1, HR 4, all of that. Senate Bill 1. It's great, Congressman. Always good to see you. Whenever I'm in D.C., he's always there with me. And I speak in D.C. a lot. Since the pandemic, I haven't been there in a year. But the point being is this, and my wife was alluding to it. Being a little country boy from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 8 years ago, June the 25th, 2013, I was in front of the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. And we were telling folks, but y'all didn't hear us.
All right.
We were telling folks that they're getting ready to gut Section 4 and Section 5.
Yes.
It was really 50 to 60 people there with us. Senator Hank Sanders, who I worked with in the state Senate,
Yes.
and Fire Rose out of Selma.
Yes.
And 50 to 60 more people. And we told our folks, it's getting ready to rain.
Yes.
Get your umbrella ready. Because what they use, and I told Helen I was going to go here for a minute, what they use is that we got a black president and we don't need no protection no more. Hello, somebody.
Hello.
We got to tell the truth.
Tell it.
Am I right? Am I right? Hey, come on now. Helen knew I'm going to tell the truth.
Yep.
You went to sleep when we got a black president. The Emancipation Proclamation came about through executive order. It was an executive order.
All right.
They got us the Emancipation Proclamation. What are you saying, Steele, as I run out of here because y'all going to jump on me? Why in the hell won't the next president restore the 1965 Voter Rights Act on pre-clearance?
Yeah.
It can be restored.
SCLC Today TV. I'm your host, Maynard Eaton, and that was our president, Dr. Charles Steele Jr., and his lovely wife, Dr. Steele. That was at a John Lewis voting rights rally at the King Center, correct?
Yeah, right in front of Ebenezer Baptist Church. the church that Dr. King co-pastored with his father, Daddy King, and across from the King Center.
Dr. Steele, I love when your wife said we failed our final exam, and you came back and says, we can't wait, we went to sleep. Two different things on the same subject, was it not?
Absolutely. And what my wife was saying is that we can't rest on our laurels. As an educator, she was talking about you might have made an A for the first 6 weeks, but you got 2 more 6 weeks to go for the semester. And because you made the A, you thought you had it made, but you flunked the semester because you didn't prepare. You didn't pay attention, and you didn't listen to the inclinations of what the study of the subject matter was all about. So we went to sleep. We thought because we got the 1965 Voter Rights Act and we suffered and we died, we were lynched, we was pried upon, we was in shotgun houses without running water. We were bathing in 10 tubs. And then when we got the 1965 Voter Rights Act, that was the catalyst, the glue that gave freedom not only to African Americans, black folks, Negroes, but for people all over the world. That's when we went to sleep. And we thought that we were going to be there with the pre-clearance, which means that state government can't make any changes in terms of drawing the district lines or precincts to any degree, or make any changes related to the political arena of a given district or precinct or a state-run election. The state government has always been an enemy to us. And by the mere fact we went to sleep, it was Jim Crow that brought about discrimination and having us in the back door and the out door, and white folks could have a restroom, say white men and white women, and then it was just colored people for color. That's what it said, for color, which meant that color folks, Negroes at the time, men and women went in the same restroom. They dehumanized us under state government. And now people don't understand why we had a suppression of the vote. You have it because you lost over 50 years of progress. And you were told that discrimination and racism is over. And that comes out of Shelby County, Alabama. Shelby versus Holder, which means right next door to Jefferson County, Birmingham, Alabama, which means that the civil rights movement has gone full circle, which means we have to do it all over again.
Dr. Steele, what I love is your friend, Helen Butler, introduced you and your wife as the dynamic duo. And, sir, all week long, you've been telling me, make sure I mention your wife because it was a great speech. She rarely speaks, but I think she lit you up Saturday.
Well, as you know, man, and I always enhance my performance in terms of dealing with people by using her as a measuring stick. She's very articulate, very prepared, but she's not one that's trying to get in front of a camera. The real leaders don't have to say much. The real leaders can walk into a room and you know the way they walk in, the way they sit down, the way they cross their legs or don't cross their legs, the way they behave, their mannerism. You know a leader. See, that's why we get confused. Many of us want to get in front of the camera and get a sign and go home and watch the 6 o'clock news. And we declare that we are a leader. So I'm giving accolades to my wife and to other women of leadership roles in terms of what you do.
Speaking of leaders, you had more to say. Let's listen to that clip from last Saturday.
Yes.
We went through it.
Yes.
I seen the water fountain say color. I seen the back door outhouses.
Yes.
And what I'm getting ready to tell you is that we got to have politics. But politics can't free the oppressed.
All right.
The oppressed got to free politics.
All right.
It never has. You got to raise sand. You got to raise, it's in the Bible, you got to raise that. If you know your Bible, Reverend Fred Taylor, Brother Davenport, my leaders. As I close here, my grandmama, this last point, she was not grammatically correct, but she said it. She was committed to the neighbor next door. I was like 10 years old. She looked at Miss Will. She said, Miss Will, you know, we got problems at the church and at the community center. I just want to know, is you is or is you ain't with me?
All right.
Come on, somebody.
All
Talk to me.
All right.
Is you is
Oh, yes.
or is you ain't with me?
All right.
All I'm saying, we got to march non-violently.
Yes.
You should never have violence involved in your
Yes.
vocabulary or in your action. We got to march. We got to demonstrate. We got to restore the 1965 Voter Rights Act with expansion. Let me say this. H.R. 1 is good. Let's do it. H.R. 4 is good. Let's do it.
Yes.
Senate Bill 1 is good. Let's do it. But ain't nothing like the 1965 Voter Rights Act. You know why? You need to know that 30 seconds. You know why? You know why they suppressing the vote? Because you're going back to Jim Crow.
All right.
Because you lost Section 4 and Section 5. I just want to know, is you is
Ah, yes.
or is you ain't with me? God bless you. Bless you.
Say that one more time. Is you is?
Yes, you is.
I'm gonna keep that.
Oh, yes, you ain't with me.
I'm gonna make sure you remember that. No, that's pretty good, dog. That's pretty good. Now again? It's always nice hearing you speak, especially when you get in a preaching mode. But did that rally mean something? You think did it make a difference? Was it important that you and your wife be there?
Well, first of all, it makes a difference because redundancy, repetition is the mother of skill. You can have it every Saturday or every week or every day. Whenever you have it, consistently, repetition is the mother of skill. What I regret is that we are reactive rather than being proactive. You know, that happened when we was at the U.S. Supreme Court, June the 25th, 2013. And I've said that many a times with Senator Hank Sanders and his most committed and lovely wife, Fire Rose, and 50 to 60 other people. We were there saying, don't gut it. But what they were saying and bringing about reasoning for them gutting the pre-clearance aspect of the 1965 Voter Rights Act is that you got a black president now. And it's been proven, because you got a black president, that racism is over. Racism is behind us. And while we were celebrating, they were eradicated.
You said that was a trick, and we're paying the price for it now, that's for sure. Talk about paying the price. You were in Memphis, Tennessee yesterday, talking about with Purvis Payne case, who's paying the price. Can you explain what that was about and what you're trying to achieve there?
Well, thank you so much, Maseed. I was in Memphis, Tennessee for 2 days, and it was doing to the cause. It was going to the cause and doing my civic duty and a leader right, a leadership right in terms of the leadership of what I represent with SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And let me just mention our chairman of the board, Dr. Bernard Lafayette, because I'm going to need him with this in terms of the kingdom philosophy. I met with the DA, and many of people there in Memphis told me that she's not going to meet with you. Well, she met with me. Number two, they said if she meet with you, it's not going to be any more than 15 minutes. Well, she met with me, and it was more than an hour, probably an hour and 15 minutes. And we were talking about some serious concerns about Mr. Purvis Payne. Purvis Payne has been on death row for 33 years. Went in when he was 20 years of age. 33 years he has been on death row for a crime that we feel, in working with the Innocent Project, that we feel that he did not commit. His involvement was no to none. We know that the DA's office had the DNA of the young lady who happened to be Caucasian, and he's African American. And not only was two of the kids attacked, but one of them fatally was attacked, and one survived. So that was the mother who was stabbed over 85 times. I think it was 88 times. That was a show of passion. And what we're saying is that it was her husband, because they were having many problems in terms of their marriage. And at the time, I think they were separated. And not only did this young man at the time, 33 years ago, come and attack and ultimately kill his estranged wife, he attacked both of his children and is stabbing them. And one of his children died, a girl and a boy. And one made a transition and was also murdered by this person. All we're saying is that district attorney responsibility is to bring about justice, not to just get a conviction and to use it for political gain. So what we're saying, and what I did, was to ask the DA to reconsider the prosecutorial approach on purpose and bring about an exoneration in terms of his death. She said, I'm not going to do it, but I will listen to you. I said, let's stop talking about purpose. Let's talk about you and I in a healing process, and hopefully the rest will take care of itself. And she agreed to that.
Dr. Steele, how do you do this, man? How do you keep juggling so many issues, so many different places? Just this morning, we take this show on May 13th, Thursday, May 13th. Just this morning, you were Jesse Jackson speaking about leadership within the Black community. You juggle a lot of different things, brother.
Well, it's the anointing from God that keep me going. Lord knows that I get out of energy, but he has always been able to give me enough energy to suffice, to continue and to carry on. Yeah, we were with Reverend Jesse Jackson today with none other than my great banker at Union Bank here in Atlanta, Mr. George Andrews, Excel Adams, Stephon, who is the state president of PUSH, and Alicia Ivy, entrepreneur par excellence, Miss Ivy, who is doing an outstanding job, and 40 other business leaders within the city of Atlanta. And it was a great meeting. Reverend Jackson did an outstanding job giving the history and talking about economics, where African Americans are left out of the process. We have no accessibility to the money. And he asked a question, and I ask it all the time. How many black folks own the skyrise of Atlanta? The high skies, the skyrise, the big tall buildings. When I used to go to Birmingham, Alabama from Tuscaloosa, I used to look up at the tall buildings because they wasn't as tall as Atlanta is today. But to me, that was the epitome of a city. And then you look at other cities, Chicago and New York. He asked the question, how many people of color, African Americans, own the skyscrapers? And we said none. Then that shows you right there that we are left out of the financial institution of entrepreneurship and access to capital. So what Reverend Jackson said in the capsule, we got to have economics. Which comes first, the chicken or the eggs? The economics.
And that's a civil rights issue as well, is it not? I mean, you fight voting rights activities and murders like with purpose pain, with economics may be the most crucial civil rights issue of the day, is it not? I mean, it could be.
I agree. I heard one great leader say, and I won't call the name, just 4 or 5 weeks ago, where someone was contemplating on running for office. He said, what you don't need to do is run for office. You need to run and own a bank. You need to run and own a business, because it's the banks and the economics that control politics. Politics is never free to oppress. The oppressed must free politics. You don't bail out banks and financial institutions. You bail out people. And the bank's going to get the money once you bail the people out. We got to confuse, Mr. Eden.
Speaking of politics, I know you don't necessarily want to go there, but Atlanta's been in the news across the country this week. Speaking of politics, because our current mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, decided not to seek re-election. But the whole country's buzzing about who will be the next mayor. I'm not going to ask you your choice, but why does it matter to folks outside of Atlanta, you think? Because Atlanta is the black Mecca or black capital?
It's the engine of the black entrepreneurship, or the black Mecca, as you say. Atlanta is the engine. You have all types and all kinds of entrepreneurships here with black folks being in charge. But we also are great managers. We don't own what people think we own. We got less than 3% of the bank loans just in the last 2 years. Less than 3%. We own less than 3% of the wealth within this country. But listen to this, Mr. Eden. If all of the Caucasian people, of white people within society of the United States of America, who either have a job or own a business, if they just stop working on their job or on their business, just stop and say, hey, fellas, come on, catch up. It would take us 222 years to even get even Stevens to any degree with the Caucasian race. 222 years, and they will stop working. They will stop investing. They wouldn't do anything. Waiting for us to catch up with them, it would take 222 years. I rest my case.
Oh, wow. That's sobering comment. Let's end our show. This has been SCLC Today Talk to Me TV. SCLC Today TV. But I want somebody to talk to us to end our show. It's the son of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King III will end our show. Well, having spoke with Dr. Steele this past weekend. Dr. Steele, good show. Let's listen to what Martin Luther King has to say.
Obviously is an attack on the rights of many people to vote in our nation. And there are two pieces of legislation that can actually address those issues. The issues specifically that impact our state. As we know, the Georgia legislature passed repressive legislation just a few weeks ago, and the governor signed it, that does not keep us from voting, but it reduces the opportunities. One example, in Fulton County, I believe there were like 20 places where you could drop ballots. It's going to be reduced to about 8. That makes it inconvenient for some. When you look at the total number of hours that you could vote on certain days, that is reduced. And something that is probably more insane than anything is if a person is standing in line for long hours, you cannot even bring them water. That is inhumane. Now, there are other states. Florida did something yesterday to, again, reduce the opportunity for people to vote. And these are things that we're here to fight. What will overcome that is if the United States Senate, because the Congress has already passed it. I think Congressman Johnson is here. I saw him earlier. But Congress has already passed H.R. 1, the For the People's Act, and also the John Lewis Voter Registration Restoration Act. This really is a day that we are carrying on the work of the late, great Congressman, our Congressman John Lewis. Also,
that has been SCLC Today TV. our president and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. Dr. Steele, you've been a busy man this week. See you next week.
Well, thank you for all that you and Mr. Rick Clear, are both doing. And thank the people who tell us that once we are not on time in getting this program out, they get chills and they get jittery because, man, they say they like the way you throw those questions on me. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes they like the way I respond. But thank you, and Mr. Clear, because people are listening. And you will hear things on this SCLC TV program that you won't hear on another network because we tell the truth and we got the facts.
And we are SCLC. Thank God for you.